She said, "I'm going to my high school ex's birthday party. You weren't invited, so don't wait up." I said, "Enjoy yourself." Then I didn't wait up or text or call. For 48 hours, her voicemail messages went from angry to worried to desperate. I, Cashin, 32 years old and already exhausted from a long day working at the Glass Citadel Perfumers Guild, was chopping herbs for dinner when she dropped that announcement. Aurelia, 29, always shimmering with whatever scent I'd crafted for her, barely lifted her gaze from her holoscreen. "Oh, by the way," she murmured, flicking through messages like she wasn't detonating anything important, "I'm going to Orion's birthday celebration on Saturday. The old Scentcraft Academy crowd will be there. It's a specific vibe. You wouldn't really fit in." I froze, knife halfway through a leaf of moon mint. "Orion," I repeated. "Your ex-partner Orion? The one you dated through your final year?" She nodded lightly, still not looking at me, as if this was all perfectly normal. "Yeah, it's his 30th milestone event. They're trying to recreate the whole Academy nostalgia atmosphere." She finally glanced up. "It's nothing dramatic." "Right," I said. "And I'm not invited because it's just an inner circle thing." She shrugged. "You wouldn't know anyone. And it would be awkward." Then, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, she added, "Don't wait up. It'll probably run late." The dismissiveness hit harder than any argument could have. For years together. 2 years of living in this scent-soaked little loft I'd renovated myself. And she told me, not asked me, that she'd be spending a night dressed up at her ex's event while I was supposed to what? Sit home, breathing in the lingering traces of her perfume and pretending it didn't sting? For a moment my instincts tried to drag me into a fight. My chest tightened. My jaw clenched. I wanted to tell her how absurd and disrespectful it sounded. How insane it was that she thought this was fine. But then something within me simply cooled. Not anger. Not panic. Clarity. "Enjoy yourself," I said, and my voice was startlingly calm. I watched her face shift, surprise first, then something like disappointment. As if she'd expected a dramatic blow-up and was deprived of it. "That's it?" she asked. "You're okay with it?" "You're going either way," I answered, returning to slicing herbs. "Have a great time." She blinked, thrown off, murmured something about appreciating my maturity, then walked away humming, leaving a trail of amber rose fragrance behind her. When Saturday arrived, Aurelia spent nearly 3 hours getting ready. Hair curled in soft waves, gilded eye shimmer, and, ironically, the limited edition perfume I crafted for her during our anniversary trip last year. She wore a deep sapphire dress, the one she'd used for her cousin's bonding ceremony, the one that made her look like she stepped out of a fragrance advertisement. "You look nice," I said honestly. "Thanks." She kissed my cheek, leaving a deep plum lipstick stain. "If it runs late, I might crash at Leora's. You know how these galas go. Nostalgia and all that." "Sure. You're really okay?" "Totally. Have fun." She left at 7:30 p.m. The loft door clicked shut, sealing in the last breath of her perfume. The second she was gone, I turned off my communicator. Not silenced, off. Then I grabbed a pre-packed overnight bag. Because here's the part she didn't know, my brother Lysander, who lived 2 hours away in the Hellion district, and I had planned to check out the new artisan distillery lane that had opened. I'd told him earlier in the week I might come. So I left a handwritten note on the kitchen counter, ink still scented lightly with cedar, and walked out. No text. No call. No dramatic speech. Just gone. I turned my comm back on when I reached Lysander's. It exploded with notifications. A flood of texts, all from the first hour she'd been gone. "Hey, you didn't answer my last message." "Hello? Are you seriously ignoring me?" Wow. So mature. Whatever. Enjoy whatever mood you're in. Lysander read them and shook his head. She told you not to wait up. Exactly. So what, this is your revenge? No, I said. I'm simply doing what she told me to do. I shut the communicator off again and spent the night sampling spirits, laughing with my brother, breathing in air that didn't smell like tense conversations. When I turned my comm on Sunday morning, 20 more messages waited. 5 voice notes, each more frantic than the last. Are you okay? This isn't funny. I'm coming home. You better be there. I came back and you're gone. What the hell, Cashin? Fine. I contacted Lysander. He says you're alive. Get home, now. She was oscillating between fear, anger, and entitlement in rapid cycles. I spent the day helping Lysander paint his studio and sampling new distillations. At 6 p.m., I drove back. Aurelia's crystal blue hover car was already parked. Lights burned inside our loft. When I opened the door, she launched herself off the couch. Where the hell have you been? Lysander's, I answered simply. I left you a note. A note? You vanished for 2 days. You said not to wait up. I didn't. That doesn't mean disappear. What did it mean, then? I asked calmly. It means don't stay awake worrying. You told me you might sleep at Leora's. I assumed you'd be fine. I made my own plans. She sputtered, furious. You ignored my messages. You were at Orion's gala, I reminded her. Didn't want to interrupt. That's when the mask cracked. A flash of guilt, then a flick of manipulation. I didn't mean to exclude you, she said softly. It was just an academy thing. In your sapphire bonding dress and anniversary perfume, I countered. For your ex. It wasn't like that. Then describe what it was like. She stumbled over her words, cycling between indignation and feigned vulnerability. I watched it all. I'd seen her do this before in smaller moments, twist reality until she felt validated. But this time, the scent of lies was too strong. When she finally accused me of being jealous, I shook my head. I'm not jealous. I'm tired of being disrespected. She tried tears. Then she tried guilt. Then she tried turning it into a discussion about my supposed insecurities. But I'd already crossed the emotional threshold. And when I finally locked myself in the bedroom, the first time I had ever kept her out, something in me shifted permanently. The scent of her expensive perfume still lingered in the air. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel comforted by it. I felt smothered. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of Aurelia's muffled crying in the living room, or the way she occasionally tapped on the door saying, "Can we talk? Please." No, I was awake because the silence felt liberating. Like slipping out of a too-tight cloak I didn't realize I'd been wearing for years. By morning, the air in the loft had cooled. Her perfume, normally sweet, amber rose and warm, smelled acidic after hours of tension. When I stepped out of the bedroom, Aurelia was curled on the couch, eyes red, holoscreen untouched beside her. She looked up as if I were a lifeline that had finally drifted close enough to grab. "Cashin," she whispered, "can we start over? Yesterday got out of hand. I didn't mean to hurt you." Instead of answering, I walked to the kitchen and started making coffee. My movements were steady, deliberate, the way my mentor taught me to handle volatile fragrance compounds. No wasted motion. No unnecessary reactions. She followed, hovering anxiously near the counter. "You didn't tell me where you were going," she said, voice trembling. I was worried. I placed a mug in front of her. "You told me not to wait up. And that you might not come home. So I made my own plans." "That's not the same thing," she snapped. You know it's not. I looked at her. Really looked. The exhaustion beneath her anger. The desperation behind her indignation. The subtle edge of entitlement in every word. Aurelia, I said quietly, you wanted freedom for your night. I took mine. That's not fair. Neither was telling me I wouldn't fit in with people who used to be your world. Neither was dressing up for an ex and telling me to stay home. Neither was expecting me to sit by my calm waiting for you. Her eyes glistened. It wasn't, she swallowed. I didn't think it mattered that much. It matters, I said. It always has. You just never noticed. She covered her face with her hands. Shoulders shaking. Maybe from guilt. Maybe from fear of losing control of the narrative she'd always held. Cashin, she whispered through her fingers, are you leaving me? The loft felt unbearably still. I wasn't leaving her, not yet. But I was no longer anchored to the version of our relationship she'd built. The moment she dropped that announcement about Orion, something fundamental cracked. And now, standing here, the fracture was widening. I don't know, I answered honestly. She flinched as though I'd struck her. Just then, my comm buzzed, Lysander. Aurelia's head snapped up. You told him? You're making me look awful. I didn't tell him anything, I said. He called to check on me. Because he cares. She stared, lips parting, realizing what that implied, that someone outside our relationship saw the imbalance she pretended wasn't there. Cashin, please, her voice broke. I need you to tell me you're not giving up on us. I didn't respond immediately. Because for the first time, I wasn't reacting from fear of conflict or fear of losing her. I was reacting from clarity. I stepped away, picked up my coat, and grabbed my guild satchel. I need space, I said. Real space. Not the kind where you go to an ex's party and I'm expected to just wait. You're walking out? Again? I'm leaving to breathe. She didn't chase me. Not this time. As I opened the door, the faint scent of her anniversary perfume still clung to my skin, hours old, faded, no longer warm. And I realized something. Perfume is supposed to bring comfort, memory, or desire. But when the scent starts to suffocate you, it's no longer perfume. It's a warning. I returned to the glass citadel at dusk, the sky tinted violet blue, like the shimmer on distilled nocturne oils cooling in the guild's labs. After half a day buried in work, my mind felt steady again, but not peaceful. When I stepped into the loft, Aurelia was standing in the center of the living room, as if she had been waiting for me for hours. On the table sat a familiar glass bottle, Astra Noctis, the fragrance I crafted for her in our first year together. The bottle was open. Its scent drifted through the air, but different. Heavier. Sharper. Like a memory forced into the present. We need to talk, she said, voice rough but determined. I set my satchel down. Then talk. Aurelia took a shallow breath, her eyes reflecting the cold glow of the hollow lamps. I've been thinking. A lot. Anne. I don't understand why you're turning everything into a war. It was just a party. Orion is just the past. Yet you acted like I betrayed you. You really don't see the problem? I asked. The problem, she snapped, is that you overreacted. You scared me. You disappeared. You ignored me. You left me panicking. Scared? I raised an eyebrow. Scared of losing me? Or scared of losing control? She froze. I stepped toward the table and lifted the Astra Noctis bottle. Why did you open this? I wanted to remind you of what we have, she whispered. Of what you made for me. Of us. Love isn't a scent you can uncork to manipulate someone's emotions. I wasn't manipulating you. Aurelia, I said, my voice steady, you told me I didn't belong with your old academy circle. You said I'd make things awkward. You dressed up in a bonding ceremony gown and wore our anniversary perfume to go see someone who used to be your partner. And when I didn't react the way you wanted, you got angry. Because you were silent, she shouted. You should've said something. Shown something. Cared. I met her gaze. I did care. But you don't want a partner. You want an audience. She swayed slightly, as if I had knocked the foundation out from under her. No, she murmured. It's not like that. You want me jealous so you can feel desired, I continued. You want me to chase so you can feel valuable. You want me afraid of losing you so you don't have to face the emptiness you're hiding. Aurelia trembled, not from anger. From recognition. Because she knew I was right. Cashin, she whispered, voice cracking, if you leave me, I won't survive it. It was the first time I'd heard pure honesty from her. Not the painted sweetness. Not the confident mask. Just raw fear. I set Astra Noctis back on the table. I don't want to leave, I said gently. But I won't stay in a relationship where I have to lose myself to keep you. She stepped forward, gripping my hands as if clinging to the edge of a cliff. I'll change. I swear. I'm scared you don't love me anymore. I looked at her hands, delicate, trembling, the hands that once inspired a dozen of my scents. Aurelia, I said slowly, I still love you. But I don't love the way you treat me. She broke down, real tears, not the ones she weaponized. For the first time, she wasn't performing. So what do you want? She asked, voice shaking. Tell me what I have to do to keep you. I stayed silent for a long moment. Astra Noctis still lingered in the air, a reminder of beauty and pain intertwined. Finally, I answered, I want you to understand that love doesn't survive on control. I want you to respect me, the way I've respected you. And I want a relationship where neither of us has to prove our worth just to stay. Aurelia didn't move. I stepped away, grabbed my coat, and slung my satchel over my shoulder. I'm staying with Lysander for a few days, I said. We both need space. If you truly want to change, we'll talk when I come back. And if I can't, she whispered, a single tear trembling on her lashes. I held her gaze for a moment. Then we let the fragrance fade. Without forcing it. Without clinging. Without pretending. I closed the door behind me. No shouting. No smashing glass. No desperate footsteps. Only silence, but not the suffocating kind from the night before. This silence felt like a chapter closing, to make room for whatever came next. Lysander's guest room smelled nothing like Aurelia. The air was clean, cool, touched only by the faint herbal notes of his studio oils, sage, juniper resin, crushed frost mint. No amber rose. No warm sweetness. No emotional fog clinging to the walls. For the first time in a long while, I slept without dreams tinted by her perfume. When I woke, Lysander was already in the workshop, calibrating glass droppers and heating coils. He looked up when I entered. You look better, he said simply. Do I? You look like someone who finally exhaled. I didn't answer. Because it was true, breathing had felt impossible for months without me realizing it. I stayed with him for 3 days. 3 days without Aurelia's frantic messages, without her presence pressing against my senses. I muted my calm entirely after the second day, not to spite her, but because the silence was healing. Lysander didn't pry. He simply put tools in my hands, set ingredients on the table, and let me work beside him. The act of blending scents, my oldest language, soothed something inside me. On the 4th morning, while grinding star lotus petals into powder, a realization struck me with quiet clarity. I had been crafting scents for Aurelia for years, but I had forgotten to craft anything for myself. When I finally returned to the loft to gather my belongings, I expected chaos, anger, desperation, something dramatic. But Aurelia was sitting on the floor amidst half-packed boxes, silent. Not crying. Not pleading. Just, hollow. Her eyes lifted when she heard me. Cashin. Not a question. Not a demand. Just my name. I stepped inside. The loft felt smaller somehow, like a place I no longer fit. Aurelia, I replied softly. There was a long pause before she asked, "Are you coming back?" I wished I could lie. I wished I could tell her something comforting. But truth had become too heavy to ignore. "No," I said. "I'm not." Her breath hitched, but she didn't break down. She looked around the loft, our loft, at the bottles we collected, the plants we grew, the shelves I built by hand. "Did I ruin everything?" she whispered. "No," I said gently. "We ruined it together. By ignoring what wasn't working. By pretending perfume could fix cracks deeper than scent." She closed her eyes. "I thought loving you meant keeping you close. I didn't realize I was holding you too tight. And I thought loving you meant accepting anything," I murmured. "Even when it hurt." We let the silence settle, not out of hostility, but out of understanding. The kind that arrives too late to save the relationship, yet just in time to save the people. "Aurelia," I said softly. "I hope you find someone who makes you feel secure without needing to test them. Someone who doesn't make you afraid." Tears slid down her cheeks, not manipulative, not theatrical. Just, human. "And I hope," she said, voice shaking, "you find someone who sees the beauty you create, instead of using it to fill their own emptiness." We stood there for a long moment. Then I picked up my bags. As I reached the door, she asked, "What will you do now?" I didn't know the exact answer. But for the first time in years, I felt the space to breathe, to rediscover, to become. "I'm going to make something for myself," I said. For the first time in a long time. Then I stepped out of the loft, leaving its scented memories behind. I returned to Lysander's district. Rented a small space overlooking the Hellion marshes. A place where the air smelled like dew and wild herbs. There, I began crafting a new fragrance, no client, no muse, no lover. Just me. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't seductive. It wasn't meant for anyone's skin. It was grounding. Honest. Clear. A scent of rediscovery. When the final drop fell into the vial, I breathed it in and felt something settle in my chest, not closure. Not victory. Just, myself. Present. Real. No longer lost in someone else's fragrance. And for the first time, that was enough.